Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Wallach, I have to disagree with you. Congress does not need to pass more laws. We don't. Because if we keep passing more and more laws, eventually everything is going to be illegal. So I'd like you to rephrase that, because you're a bat in 1,000 until you said that. I'm the subcommittee chairman for economic opportunity, and I'm responsible for the two greatest programs the United States government has ever developed. The first one is the GI Bill, which allowed our veterans that never would have had a chance to go to college and educate themselves, and that built the nation that we live in. The second one is the VA loan program, and I've had multiple members of the VA come here, including Secretary McDonough and also Undersecretary Jacobs, and try to explain to me this VASP program. I don't know anybody here that thinks anybody who is not elected should have the ability to write a $16 or $17 billion check. And it's absolutely foolish. And when we say that we're going to defer to these agencies that have subject matter expertise, the VA does not have any subject matter expertise in executing these loans. So when the Veterans Affairs Administration wants to take on these loans, they're de facto purchasing this property. And that's wrong. And I asked him these questions. I said, hey, look, man, Undersecretary Jacobs, do you envision a world where the Veterans Affairs Administration would evict a veteran who has defaulted on their loans? And he said, absolutely. And then in another hearing, I asked Secretary McDonough, Secretary, do you envision a world where the Veterans Affairs Administration would evict a veteran that is delinquent on a loan? He said, absolutely not. And then we had the Undersecretary back in another hearing and asked him, I'm like, hey, look, man, you said you're going to evict veterans that are delinquent on loans, and then the Secretary said that he wouldn't, so who's running the frickin' VA? And that's the problem when we hand this power over to these unelected bureaucrats, because they just wind up pointing fingers at each other. And then the American taxpayers are on the line. So if the United States government, through the Veterans Affairs Administration, purchases loans that veterans are delinquent in, they knock off about 5 percentage points. First of all, the lending institution has to be made whole, right? So where's that money come from? I don't know. And then if they're never going to evict a veteran, because they're not, who is delinquent on their loans, that means that the United States government has private citizens living in government-controlled real estate without paying for anything. And they tried that once. It was in the Soviet Union. And that's where we're marching to. The bureaucracy, the state of bureaucracy, is what we're living in. We're not living in a democracy now. We're living in a bureaucracy. So having these people be able to write these massive checks without us being able to say whether or not they can is not, in my opinion, constitutional. It's very disturbing to see this. So when these people say we're not sure what Congress' intent is, I have told them directly to their face with my words, and I've also handed them documents, the written words, saying this is actually the intent. So it's very disturbing to see this stuff happen. So you're a constitutional attorney, sir.
Professor, yes.
Professor, sorry. So do you see that just this has gotten cattywampus here, where we have these folks, I mean, that's a technical term of art, where we have these folks that are appointed and they're de facto legislating through regulation. Is that how you saw, or do you think that our founding fathers designed our Constitution and our government?
No, and I think you put your finger directly on the issue, and when you compare democracy with bureaucracy, and that there's been some critiques that the court is somehow claiming power by interpreting the law, and that's problematic because they're unelected. But of course, the people and agencies are unelected as well. So I think drawing the line that you have is a good one to draw, and Congress should be writing laws, courts should be interpreting them, and agencies should have, frankly, as little discretion as needed to get the job done.
Yes, we write the laws. The judicial branch says whether or not they're in compliance with the Constitution, and then those are handed as a manual to the executive branch to execute our will, right?
Yes.
Okay, why is that so hard? It's fascinating to me. I want to thank you guys for coming. I also, on the last note, I had a reporter ask me, how is this going to affect our staff, because I know we're concerned about staffing. and they specifically said, how is this going to affect your staff? And I said, it's not going to affect my staff at all, because we already do all this work. We do very prescriptive legislation, as I think that we've been told to by the Constitution. So with that, I want to wish you all a very Merry Christmas. God bless you and your families, and I yield back.
Thank you. Represented by